Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so we're going to kick it off with the indices, go over the Mag 7 stocks, and then I have some ideas at the end of the video for you. All right, so starting off here with SPY, guys, we did push last week's high at 675.56 today. We made a new high. Closed out strong. You got above the daily 21 EMA today for a close on both SPY and QQQ, as well as IWM and DIA. All four of the major indices have gotten back above their daily 21 EMAs. I think it's safe to say that bulls are stepping back in. In the weekly update, we talked about how if SPY and QQ take out their previous week's highs, which in this case on SPY, 675.56, then that shows us that, hey, all right, bulls are stepping here on the higher time frames. They're starting to step back into things. We had a doji candlestick off of the weekly 21 EMA on both SPY and QQQ. If we can start pivoting up off of that, that's a good sign for the bulls, and it probably won't be long until we're at new highs. I can just show you the monthly candle. It changed quite a bit here on this little push you got going from last week's low. Just, you know, Friday's low there, 3 sessions later in today's high. Quite a move, guys. Yeah, it's clear to say that bulls are stepping in. We do have the short week, guys. We have Thanksgiving on Thursday, so the market will not be open then. So honestly, I wouldn't be expecting too much action, but I'm definitely going to say across the board, bulls are starting to step in. And yeah, I'm going to point out we're going to have a good amount of bullish things to say in this video. And yeah, I got some bullish setups for us at the end of the video. I'm just going to come over to VIX before we go any further. I'm going to point out what we talked about in the weekly update. Either you're going to get this scenario over here where VIX is just going to keep, you know, making its way up to new highs every 1 to 2 sessions. Or Monday, Tuesday, now being after Tuesday's close here, you are going to see this thing crush, and we're going to lose the short-term moving average here on the daily time frame. We did. Today you closed underneath the 21 EMA, and I am going to say VIX is likely coming down to sub 17. VIX crush is underway. We're now underneath last week's low. That was I mean, it's SPY over here. That was your capitulation. I wanted to see VIX above 30 to really show me for a fact that hey, okay, the market is freaking out right now. I know there's nothing to be freaking about on the higher time frames there in SPY and QQQ. We were in the perfect spot. You know, they bounced you right off the weekly 21. VIX did not spike above 30, but the daily RSI did have its second time hitting 70 along this run here. And, you know, that's why we said it's either going to probably fall for the next week. So VIX was going to keep, you know, make its way up to new highs for the next week. But, you know, that's your worst case scenario, or you just get one of these big spikes out of the way. And that would have been all she wrote. Regardless, I think that was all she wrote. If VIX is going to return back to this high, I'm talking 4 to 8 weeks from now. Not 48, 4 to 8 weeks from now. I don't think it's going to return back up there. Yeah, anytime soon. I think it's going to take its time. Okay. So that's VIX. But like I pointed out, IWM, guys, back above the 21 as well. Everything's looking good. I don't know what else to say, guys. Indices, all 4 of them, they came down to the weekly 21s. You found buyers down there, and it looks like they want to drive you up. That's about it. All right. Santa Rally, you know, I got comments saying the Santa Rally has been canceled. It's not happening. People want to say the start of a new bear market is coming. I'm just going to say, if that is your opinion right now, please just take a step back and realize you are wrong. You have been wrong. And if you want to make money in the market, you got to try and be right more than you're wrong. And if you take the opposing side of what the probabilities are suggesting, you're gonna lose. that's that. Don't do that to yourself. Just don't. And you can easily just go with the flow. And I'm just gonna tell you, in an uptrend, these corrections do happen, and that's that. Okay, but yeah, I do think we're on track for Santa Rally, and yeah, so far so good. Okay, we got the minimum move we were expected, 3 to 4% off of last week's low on QQQ. That's a minimum, you know, dead cat bounce kind of move we were expecting this week. Yeah, you hit that yesterday, and today, again, you're above these 21s. There's nothing really bearish about it. You know, you have a bull flag over here. Daily cloud is starting to, we're going to see over the next few sessions if it flips back to green. If it does, you know, the worst is probably over here. And I still do think you get a pullback before all-time highs. But, you know, it's going to be something like this, okay? You know, somewhere in between 620 and 630. I think we get a pullback back into the 21 EMA just from above this time. And then, yeah, you're probably going to push up from there. Or you want to just push up, I don't know. Or they want to do this mess right here and, you know, probably give you a higher low down here. And there would be that. Or they give you an equal low, there would be that. But with VIX showing us that it does not, like it's full on crushing here, it's probably not going to magically just spike all the way back up. That's what you would need, okay? Like that would happen on this VIX chart here. If SPY and QQ is to come back down to these lows, it's very unlikely to be the case with everything we got right now, okay? All right, so levels on SPY, guys. And, you know, keep in mind, tomorrow's the day before a big holiday there. Market's going to be closed. Do not have the most expectations, okay? And if they do pull you back, okay, SPY is going to be testing 21 from above. QQQ over here might just, you know, put in a range right here, and then maybe as SPY puts in the higher low off of right here and then pushes into a new high, QQQ would probably just break up from said range. Okay. And that is what we got. All right. Let's go over the levels here on SPY and then we'll go over QQQ. On the upside, 675.56 above there. We got the 678. We have 678 and then the 680 cycle level. Then we're watching them 0.786 Fibonacci retracement level from the whole move down there at 681.40. Get above 681.40. You have 684.96 and 689.70. On the downside, watch 670.23. Okay, which you broke above, you know, real quick. And, you know, again, I'm just going to say, hey, guys, if you don't know how to catch these nice big moves you're getting in these markets, pre-market high, pre-market low, mark them. Okay, you broke the low. What happens? Oh, 3 points to the downside. This is SPY. QQQ, you know, you got a little bit more volatility going on this morning. 5 points to the downside. Broke the high. Okay, you had a 2 point push and then into the close there. 3 to 4 points. SPY really had the strength today, and definitely what led the way. Definitely did. But I'm telling you, yeah, mark out pre-market high, pre-market low. Wait for your break, and just know, you know, it's not always going to be perfect, but it is going to give you direction every day. Okay, and again, it's not always perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. You just can't have that expectation in life. All right, but yeah, downside 670.23, 667.29, and 664.55, which was today's low. You know, honestly, clean price action. Okay, as frustrating as the market's been, you know, I'm just gonna say it definitely has been giving you some clean moves, and you gotta love it. You know, sometimes things just they look beautiful. That's SPY. That's the S&P 500 right there, okay? Over here on QQ, we got today's high on the upside. Today's high, 610.26. Above there, 614.03, which like on SPY, we got above last week's high. That's 614.03 over here on QQQ. You do that on both of them, you're going higher. We're going 620, 625 probably right away, all right? Probably not this week. Likely going to be next week. And then I still think you get a pullback before hitting all-time highs. So we'll see how we'll see how you close this week, and we'll address this in the weekly update. We'll see how things change this week, okay? You do have the bull flag, okay? So upside, 610.26, 614.03, 618.12, 620, 624.86. On the downside, 606.68, 599.74. If you come back down there, you're probably going to take out yesterday's low, Monday's low at 595.16. That is bad for the bulls. Yeah, you're reversing the whole weekly candle if that happens. I don't think you're really going to get all too much action the rest of the week. You already got a big move to start the week here. Okay, it is a big move. You're up 2.5%. It is a short trading week. Just realize that's the case. Okay. You definitely do have this little bull flag going on over here, okay? And like I pointed out, IWM, DIA, they're not looking bad. IWM looks like it wants to drive it up to the highs. Might take a few weeks to get there. I don't think they're just going to have one massive candlestick here. But hey, if you want to do that, you're likely not going to stop here and you go higher the same exact week. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to shape up. But yeah, they bring it up to the highs, you know, whether it be that week or the next week, I do think they'd give you another 5 to 10 points. So that's just a little tell there. If we get that, we know what likely comes after that. But yeah, all these daily clouds, they're looking like they want to be flipping back to green. Things are bouncing off these weekly 21 EMAs. It's not the worst look. All right, the MAGS ETF, guys. We'll start the Magnificent 7 stocks with the MAGS ETF. This only has the Magnificent 7 stocks in it. And it is breaking out from this bull flag today. It looks like it wants to continue. And I just thought I'd point that out, okay? I think the Magnificent 7 stocks are going to be leading the way along this rally. And yeah, let's dive into them. All right, guys, Apple with the false breakout today. It did end up giving you about a 3-point move from the breakout to the high today. But yeah, I'm not too confident this thing's going to be pushing up right away. I think it more likely is going to pull back, and then either on Friday or beginning next week, I think it breaks above this week's high and then pushes 285 to 290. Maybe if it goes a little crazy, 300 plus and coming. Probably is going to get to 300 on this next push, but, you know, within 1 to 2 weeks, just because it is the next big cycle level. But yeah, 285, 290, still looking for it. You definitely, I'm not going to argue with it. You got a false breakout today, swept it, closed back underneath it. So I think it makes more sense for you to pull back into the short-term moving average here before pushing higher. Pretty much something exactly like this over here. And then you got the real push up following that. Okay, following that consolidation. So we'll see how it shapes up over the coming sessions. For all we know, it does gap up tomorrow, take out today's high at 280.38 and push 285 plus tomorrow. We don't know. Okay, it's a possibility. Just look at the weekly, candle chart here. 1, 2, 3 weeks of range. Okay, technically there's 4 weeks of range, but we'll just say 3 weeks of range on the 4th week to breaking it up. It still would make the most sense for me for them to close this above 277.32 this week. I think this weekly candle will expand. That's why I say, I still think they're going to send it up. Maybe Friday, if not end of this week, next week. Okay, there's that. But it makes more sense to push up. I can't argue with the daily candle here. You got a big fat upper wick. None of these previous breakouts along this run, you had a nice fat upper wick. Okay, you got consolidation next 1 to 2 sessions if you had the fat upper wick. That's just that. Or you just weren't breaking out right then and there. That being said, you didn't get any, false breakouts along this whole thing either. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's Apple. NVIDIA closed out with a hammer candlestick today. They don't want to let the daily RSI close at 37, but you got down there today at the low. You started pushing back up. They closed you out with the hammer. Clearly, bulls are defending this area. I think it makes the most sense that they close you above the weekly 21 EMA, so I do think they're going to continue holding it into end of week here. But yeah, you're watching 184.48. Even if it's just a dead cat bounce, you're still watching for the retest of that key level there. Very clearly has a lot of reactions right at 184.48 market. Get back above the 21, you're going to have 190, 195, and then just about $200. Okay. And then on the downside, 172.93, and then today's low is in at 169.55. They take out today's low, guys. Just realize, like, on that next low there, it's the probably going to be, mark a low before a 10 to 20% bounce back up. All right. I don't know exactly how it's going to shape up. I'm not saying right when they sweep it, there's, right when they take it out, they're going to sweep it and push right back up. I'm not saying that. I am saying, look at here, you can clearly tell they're defending this. So I don't know if they're really going to break it down all that much. They tried doing it over here. They couldn't do it. They tried doing it over here. They couldn't do it. All right, so I have a feeling it's just like over here, where it's just going to be a minor new low. And again, 37 on the daily RSI for, I think it's been 2.5 years now, has been giving you 10 to 20%, 10% plus bounces over the next 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, there's one time where it didn't exactly fit that criteria. It still did get the move. It sent you for a ride. Either way, I'm going to be looking for it. But it still would make the most sense for me to just see them close you above the weekly 21. And then, hey, okay, maybe you pivot up off of it. I think the market's going to be pushing up. So it would make the most sense to me. Microsoft, guys, buyers are finally stepping in. If you could take out 478, let's open it. Okay, 473 to 475 tomorrow. Push you above 478.92. I think they're going to give you a pop to 486.78. Okay, where you broke down from is at 492.37. Watch for the dead cat bounce into that level. Until proven otherwise, expect rejection. That's where the weekly 21 EMA is. That's where the daily 21 EMA is. That's where you have the confluence for the sellers right at 492.37. That's Microsoft. All right. Downside, I'm just going to say daily RSI is down to where you see this thing snapping back pretty much every time over the years. Sometimes it forms bullish divergences, but you still get decent bounces from when it hits down here on the daily RSI. Okay. So yeah, you know, look, you came back down, but look, you had a massive bounce right there. I don't need to look at price to sell you. Yeah, you had a massive bounce right there. I know RSI only went up because price went up like that. We have a big break and retest going on off of previous all-time high 468.35. You're on the monthly 9 EMA as well. Honestly, they might just bid you up from here. Okay, Microsoft, I think downside is limited no matter what. And yeah, I think they might give you a decent snap back here. Either way, in the short term, I just outlined the game plan for you. Take it above 478.92, probably pushes 486.78. Above there, 492.37. Okay, that's what you got. Meta, guys, big day. Got a daily close back above the 21 EMA. The 4-hour RSI is overbought, starting to hinge down. I personally think they're going to pull you back from here and consolidate it for a few days. You know, you could just look back. Maybe it pushes back above, pulls back to retest it, just like you had over here at the April bottom. All right, so you have that. But, you know, I really just want to see them retest that and hold it. I don't think we're going much higher here in the short term without them retest. Like, you know, maybe they gap you up a little, retest this area there. Maybe you find buyers there. I don't know. You know, I think most likely they're going to have some variation of what I just talked about, just because if you look back at all these corrections, you get back above the 21, you typically will retest that, you know, either next session or like, look at this, you get back above and you're like, oh, FOMO, we're about to start shooting back up because weekly chart probably was looking pretty cool over here. Guess what? You danced around it for 2 weeks. So I'm just saying, if you with me and you're starting to take it off, okay, right into there, okay, I took off the calls, you know, right here into the 21, specifically for this exact reasoning. I think you get something like this. I don't think you're missing out on all that much, but hey, good first step here. Buyers are certainly stepping in this week, okay. I'm telling you, now that they did what we, you know, take it over last week's high, get confirmation that VIX likely has its top in there, it's not going to be spiking back up right away, okay. The path just becomes a lot easier, and it's going to become a lot easier to trade just because the uncertainty is it's taken out. Okay. Over here, I knew downside was limited. I didn't know exactly when buyers would show that they're stepping in. Okay. I knew exactly where to look for them. It was down here at the weekly 21, both SPY and QQQ. QQ specifically is what I was talking about for, you know, weeks there. That's the thing. If we were going to test it, that's likely going to be a bottom. But you also don't know when they're ready to send it back up. You know, at the end of the day, all of this is just base. Okay, this is your compression here. You're going to be looking for that expansion to follow. And I personally still think they'll pull you back before all-time highs. Okay, all right. Back to the Mag 7 stock. So that's Meta, guys. I do think they're going to dance around here for a few sessions. They might just send you up. Okay, it's not always perfect. I'm just saying they likely are going to do so, just because that's what, if you look back, that's what they've done in the past here. You know, you could go back a pretty long time, and yeah, that's what they like to do. When you lose it and then reclaim it, they dance you around it. All right, even if it's something like that. Okay, I don't think you're missing out on all that much. Look at that. You came into it, you danced around it for a while. Okay, we're going way back at this point. Look at the price. Okay, you know, either way, you get the point. You get what I'm saying. But if Meta wants to magically push through this spot and not get that process, regardless, this is what we're going to be watching. Okay, 660 is the next stop. Above there, 690, 120. That's where you broke down from. And yeah, it looks pretty. Looks pretty. Expect dips to be bought over here on Meta. Tesla, you're pressed up against the daily 21, and if you take out yesterday's high tomorrow, 421.72, Monday's high, I think they're probably going to drive you up to 428.94, and then hey, we'll see if they want to bring you up to 440 to 450 from there. I'm still going to say the bounce is likely to be sold, and that's that. Okay, it might be different this time. I'm not going to expect to be different. Every one of these other times, it looks pretty bullish, and then it doesn't make a new high, and I'm just going to expect that to be the case. I really am. I don't think you have a reason to expect it not to be the case. I don't think I have a reason not to expect that. I swear, guys, it looks bullish every time. it goes back up, and maybe this time it's going to be different, but I don't think so. Regardless, that's Tesla. On the downside, you have 401.09, you have 414.50, and then 401.09, and then 382.78, and then you have another leg down. So we'll see how this goes. But hey, market looks good in the short term. This looks like it can push in the short term. That's probably going to be the case. Looks, yeah, I don't care about what I'm talking about, how it's going to fail at a new high, okay, and then it's going to come down for another leg, and then daily RSI gets oversold. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the short-term action, and you're consolidating in a bullish manner. You got, an inside bar today from yesterday's range. It is likely going to be pushing up in the short term. Or it just gets a big fat rejection. This thing sells all the way back down from right here at the 21 EMA. It could go both ways. Apple, look at that. Oh, look at that. What's Apple doing? A whole lot of nothing. I don't know what that alert was. But that's Tesla. Here's GOOG, guys. I wouldn't be touching Google, okay? Doesn't mean I'm telling you to short it. It just means that this thing is a high flyer, and it's been a high flyer. And yeah, it already got a big move. You had big consolidation followed by a big move up. Okay, another 13%. Big consolidation followed by another big move up, another 13%. Last move ended at just about 13%. This one is at just about 13%. Okay. I would not be looking for much further upside here on GOOG. I don't think it's a good idea shorting it. I don't think it's a good idea longing it. I think you should leave it alone and let it be GOOG. It could do whatever GOOG wants. Okay. That's GOOG. GOOG. Amazon pushing up to the 21 EMA today. We pointed out in the weekly update that the daily RSI came down to the same spot, had the last 3 bounces. We don't know if this is just going to be a dead cat bounce or not, so just keep that in mind. If you do end up taking out last week's high at 234.60, okay, you're probably going to push 238.85 to 242.52, that zone up there. And we're going to have to see what happens there. I'm not sure the reaction, but you had a lot of damage on this chart. They're trying to fix it by month's end here, okay? At least they're not closing out with the bearish engulfing candlestick. We'll see how they close out the month. If the market wants to continue pushing next week, like I'm thinking, we're going to have to see how this week closes, but I'm thinking that's going to be the case ahead of time. This is probably going to continue pushing as well, and at that point, it closes out with a long lower wick on the monthly candle, and it's not nearly as bad as it just was, okay? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But you're at the 21. Above the 21, you're going to have last week's high, 234.60, then 238.85 and 242.52. Downside, 222.75. Lose that. Your risk coming down to the lows, 215.18. And those are the Magnificent 7 stocks, guys. This really sums up everything right here. Okay, this is it. You're getting a breakout over here on the Mags ETF. This is just all the stocks we just went over there, all 7 of them combined. That's that. Okay, I don't think NVIDIA looks bad. I think Microsoft doesn't look bad. I think Meta definitely doesn't look bad. I think Tesla, even in the short term, definitely doesn't look bad. Google, I don't know what it's going to do, but it's definitely been showing the strength. You can't deny it. Amazon doesn't look bad in the short term. Market pushes up. This likely gets continuation next week as well. All of these are fuel for upside. Apple, I still think it makes the most sense for this thing to push and break out this week. That being said, we have to see what comes next, because this is definitely a false breakout until proven otherwise. You can't really argue with it, okay? And if it takes out today's low tomorrow, 275.25, watch for it to pull back into the 5 and the 9 EMA. That's 272 to 273, okay? It's a decent dip right there, okay? It's not worth holding shorter dated calls through that, in my personal opinion. That being said, this monthly candle looks like it's going to expand. So I think they're going to send it either this week or next. I really do. It's beautiful. It's just they didn't give you the day you wanted here, okay? Day I wanted here. Maybe you as well. All right, now I got some stocks that are standing out. In yesterday's video, I didn't really give too many ideas, but this was definitely one of them, RKT. I didn't think it was going to matter what the market's going to be doing. This thing has been basing out above the previous breakout level, 1598. The whole time the market's been selling off there, okay? Looks phenomenal. You got a nice big first day here. If you missed it, I think you're probably going to get the mean reversion. This stock loves to have its pullbacks. You could just see it on the weekly time frame. Breakout, okay, false breakout, pulled back, okay. So for all we know, this thing could get back the whole move. Looking for the retest of 1844. False breakout there, pushes up, pulls back, gives back more than that whole week move up the next week, and then also reverses the whole move and then has pretty much a 20% move up by end of week. gaps down, pulls back 10%, and then pushes up again from that high, pulls back 7%, and then pushes up, and then just starts pulling back. I'm just pointing, and it's the same over here as well. You see all the wicks going on here. That's why you have all the upper and lower wicks, because this stock doesn't go straight up. Just realize that's how it trades, okay? There's no reason to have FOMO. Maybe it takes off and it keeps going just like here, and it never pulls back into the short-term moving averages. That's probably not going to be the case. That being said, this looks phenomenal. Big move up today. Don't expect it to go straight up, but do expect dips to be bought. Those are going to be your buying opportunities, your mean reversions to the 9 and the 21. Okay, that's RKT. Second thing I'm going to talk about is AVGO. I just forgot to mention it in yesterday's video. I had a massive day yesterday. I'm looking for the dip over here on this name into really 360 to 365. That's, ideally going to be the case, or consolidates over here as the moving averages catch up to price. I'm not sure which one we're going to get, but it does look like I don't think it's just going to rocket from here. I could be wrong. Over here, look, you had a very similar candlestick, okay, and you end up still moving. So it's possible. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be the case. Regardless, weekly time frame here, it's set up to explode. I don't know if they're going to wait for the 2.5 weeks. We have earnings. I have no idea if they're going to wait on that. That's going to be over here on the 11th, December 11th. Not sure if they're going to wait, but I'm definitely going to say keep your eyes on AVGO over the coming weeks. It likely is about to be making another 20% advance here. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be doing it off of earnings or if they're going to do it beforehand, but it looks phenomenal over there. And AVGO loves basing out in a bullish manner and then pushing up the new highs off of said base. It loves its breakouts. It really does. There's just so many breakouts here over the years that have presented themselves. So many, so many. It's ridiculous. So just realize it's probably not going to be any different. Yeah, so as long as you get the breakout, which guess what? Newsflash, you've already gotten it. Okay. Over here, they didn't take the weekly candle above there. Okay. But real talk, they close you out higher this week. They're likely driving you up next week. Now, here's the thing about this chart. It looks like you just have one massive weekly candle most of these times. And then if you push up the next week, it sells. So they might send you higher into end of this week. Just pointing it out. Okay. Before out doesn't look bad. Either way, put your eyes on AVGO. It's likely going to be making moves in the short term. Speaking of moves in the short term, Cypher. Pushing up to last week's high, 1756, above 1756. You don't have anything till 1949. It's where you broke down from up there. It's right where the daily cloud started flipping as well. This looks like it's likely going to get a short-term pop. Okay, a pop into the, in the short term. I think we still have 1 to 2 points of upside for the week. If it does not get that move this week, I'm looking for a larger push next week. Okay. But why do I say 1 to 2 points there? Okay. Most of the time when you push the previous week's high, you will push a little bit higher. And, on the days, on the weeks you don't, okay, you get a decent move going the next week. That's just how this thing has been moving. I am expecting you get another, 10% move or so on the week to the upside. That is Cypher. But, if you just mark out up here, okay, you could see a very clear picture of what's going on here. Big break and retest over here for Cypher Boy. And it likely is going to be pushing back up to highs. My personal opinion. That's Cypher, okay? Which is CIFR, by the way, if you're not looking at the screen. ALB. All right. ALB has been a leader, and it is likely going to be pushing up to new highs this week. That is what it looks like. If not this week, the next week. But yeah, above 127.07, there's nothing till 137.50, all the way up to 143.19. That's your supply zone, 137.50 to 143.19. That's where we should be expecting sellers. That being said, it does look like they want to drive it higher here in the short term. Yeah, they want to break this high. Okay, if it pulls back, guys, if you get a gap down or something tomorrow, it's probably going to be bought. These gap downs on this name, as long as you're maintaining your trend there, it has been bought right away. So thinking that's the case. It's ALB. Hang on one sec. Let me just take a sip of water. All right. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a second there. All right. I was pointing out, actually, you know, back here, it did end up getting a pop. All right. And then I mentioned it this week right here. It pulled all the way back to the 21, and now it's making its way back up past that weekly high, 43.91, where it got slammed. It looks like this thing is probably going to be a big mover. I really like what's going on here on the monthly. I really like what's going on here on the weekly time frame. You got a little, you know, bull pennant going on here. It makes sense where you've been stalling out here. Okay, this is where all of these wicks are. It looks like it's getting ready for a massive move. That's you. That's all I really want to say about it. Get above 43.91. You have 46.94 and then 50.08 above there. It looks like this has a massive move right around the corner. And I'm going to say over the next 1 to 2 weeks, I think we probably start that move. Start putting it back on your radar here, if it's not already. Riot. So we ended up having I think there were January calls that came in today, quite a bit. So, you know, it put it back on my radar there. But I really like what's going on over here, daily and weekly. You see where you're finding buyers off. It's right off the trend line here from where you broke out from. Okay, you even got the false breakout, and then you, boom, pull back to the 21, and then had a big move from there. All right, and now you're in a similar spot. Okay, you pulled back to $12. Your previous low from that was only like 1070. We're having a massive move up. I think this is probably about to start making a comeback story. I think this base right here might be the very start of it. It might be just like this, where it still makes a new low. Okay, but we're going to pay attention over the coming weeks. If it does make that new low, that creates bullish divergence. We're looking to buy that. I'll probably do so with shares. But, you know, you see over here, we'll see how the structure builds out. There's a left shoulder ahead. There's a right shoulder right there. It's your neckline right there. It's your break and retest right there. You just follow the structure along the way. That's pretty much it. So we're probably going to, we will have a better idea of, you know, how this thing is setting up. Once we see if this rejects here at the 21 EMA right around 1587 key level right there, if it rejects there and then comes down to a new low underneath 1204 there, we're going to have the bullish divergence. I'm probably just going to start buying, you know, somewhere over here if we see that bullish divergence. And then I'm going to point out that we probably will get this, but it's going to take time for me to point that out because we have to let the price action develop. All right. And that's Riot. Wolf looks like it's going to be breaking above 1475 in the short term. I think this is probably going to be pushing back up the highs. This looks pretty. All right. But 1475, you have 1619 and 1705. That is Wolf. I'm going to point out Walmart. Wally over here, guys. I think this is getting ready finally for the next expansion style move. Okay. This has been compressed for a long time now. You had the false breakout. You actually had 2 of them over the past 2 months there. And now it is pushing back up. If we manage to get a monthly close over 109.58, this might actually start just trekking higher. It might just start dragging itself higher. And you will finally have a trend to go off of here because you have had a whole bunch of nothingness for months. Like, we're talking, you know, the better part of a year here. It's almost a year. Okay, that right there, that's like 10 months right there, okay? Maybe 9.5. Either way, I like what the daily chart is doing over here. You pull back into the 21 EMA, you retest where you broke out from 103.94. You know, objectively speaking, this is sexy, okay? It is, and it looks like they want to drive this thing back up. You rejected right here at 108.25. You failed to take out that weekly high there. That probably would have brought you up to 109.58, or at least, you know, you would have gotten to see the reaction there. But, you know, above there, you have 109.58. They rejected it once. If you get back up there, if they bring it back up there, you're probably going to break out on this time. Okay, so expect the breakout above 108.25. Expect it to be successful this time, in my personal opinion. All right, if it's tested again, expect it to be successful. Above 108.25, you look for 109.58. And at that point, I think we get this move to 115 to 120 over the next 1 to 2 weeks from there. I do think over the next monthly candle, we will see this thing finally expand out of this area. And we're going to see 115 to 120 here on Wally. Mr. Walmart over here, okay? That's Walmart. WMT. APP, it's the last one I'm going to point out here. I like what's going on here on the, you know, in the short term. 4 hour, it looks like they're getting ready to pop you above last week's high there at 562.56. You got above there today, or not today. You got above there yesterday. They did not really break you above. You got the 21 EMA sitting right over there. There's a chance they start just actually getting you firmly above the 21 EMA, and they might actually give you a nice, 30 to 50 point move into end of week. So that's what I'm really calling out. And if it happens, you're probably going to retest this area right over here around, we're going to say 600 to 610. I'm not saying it's going to happen this week. I'm not. But I am saying it looks like they can do it. And your worst case scenario over here is what I think I already pointed out in the weekly update, which was this action right here. All right, this action right here, where you just keep getting these 10% weekly moves, where, they're just going to keep your range bound. Look at that, you gap down. Oh, another 8% move. Oh, you gave back the move by end of week, and then next week you had another, look, 10% move. And boom, bottom to top that week, 10%. Until they finally, really just get you through this area. So that's possible that we build that out. Regardless, expect dips to be bought over here on APP. I really like where you are at over here on the weekly time frame. Okay, I mean any time frame, I like where you're at, but the weekly really just looks clean. It's right on the 21 EMA. If you get through this area where the daily 21 is, it's you getting back above the weekly 21, the weekly 9 EMA there. And at that point, I have to assume they are going to retest where they broke it down from. So, and what comes after that is them taking out this high and sending up to all-time highs. So, this is the spot where that all starts from. Pay attention to it. That's APP. App loving, baby. There you go. All right, and that's what I got for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, just please remember to leave a like. If you want to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below. I'm live every day. And if you want to take half off right now off of the lifetime membership, that is going to be code BF. Code BF standing for Black Friday. Okay? I will have that up until Friday. With that being said, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really do. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.